You're listening to Captain John Doe, real aviation stories told anonymously. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. I am Mindy, joined by my co-host, co-pilot, co-person of life and everything good, Kevin.
Hello, and welcome back.
As always, thanks for tuning in, writing in your awesome stories, leaving us reviews. We are so excited to keep bringing you guys some really great content, all the great stories that you guys love to hear. So welcome aboard the Captain John Doe podcast, where the stories stay anonymous unless we want you to know who said it.
Yeah. Well, today we're doing a little something different.
Every so often, we come across aviation folks with stories that are too good not to share, and some names of these people that you are going to recognize. So every few weeks, we are featuring one of these great people on these special edition episodes, and today is our very first feature.
But there's always a but. In classic Captain John Doe fashion, we're not going to tell you which story is theirs yet. You're going to have to listen until the end to find out which of their stories today was submitted by our special guest.
So I wonder who this special guest is. Without further ado, our very first special guest submission is from the great and mighty Chris Palmer from Angle of Attack. All right, Kevin. So we know Mr. Chrissy P personally. Before I read his formal introduction, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about Chris and why he's awesome?
Blah, 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 blah.
No, the blah, blah. The blah, blah is just a phrase song.
That's what I think about you, Chris.
Why would you think I would write that? Okay, rewrite. We're going to have to edit that out.
Oh, it's so good. I don't want to edit it.
Okay, go back. This is for you to actually answer.
Well, Chris, I'm speaking directly to you because I've gotten to know you a lot over these past years. For those who have not followed along with Angle of Attack, Chris lives up in Alaska,
So cool.
Up in the Great White North. Chris is also an awesome Gold Seal CFI. He puts out a lot of great content for students, for CFIs like myself. Chris is a awesome person in the aviation community. He routinely keeps the ball moving and keeps pressure on our industry because he always is pushing for safety. And I feel privileged to have known him through you, my wife Mindy, and a lot of other friends. And we have this friendship now that will last forever through air shows and everything. And I thank Chris for helping me in my current role as a CFI, because anytime I have questions, it's a quick Google search away on Angle of Attack. So I'm really, really excited to have him on the podcast as our first special guest.
That's pretty spot on. Chris is very inspiring. And I feel like some of my favorite memories with Chris Palmer is literally doing nothing at Oshkosh. Some of our close friends, we have this secret tree at Oshkosh that we call
Is it secret?
It is secret. We call it Shady Tree. And at any time, you don't even have to ask our group of friends if anyone's there. There will always be someone holding down the fort. Chris is there a lot holding down the fort at Shady Tree, which is a protected area where we all literally just lay under the tree in the shade, watch the air show. We usually have lots of Chick-fil-A. We're making fun of our friend Cameron. It's a great...
Listen, I've never been to Homer, Alaska before. No offense, Chris, but I assume there's like 3 whole people there and a couple bears. So it's a lot for him to go to Oshkosh with 800,000 people. So just reassociating himself into the world, it takes time. Just baby steps. Baby steps.
So before we get into this, if you don't know Chris, let me help you out and tell you why you should. Chris Palmer is a master and Gold SEAL certified flight instructor and founder of Angle of Attack, a flight school based in Homer, Alaska. This flight school serves student pilots locally and nationwide through an online ground school. Chris is a well-known aviation educator and content creator, sharing immersive flying experiences and training tips through his YouTube channel and Instagram. His mission is to make aviation education engaging, approachable, and effective for pilots at every stage of their journey. At heart, Chris is an aviator just like the rest of us, just trying to improve, not shy from a challenge, and he's always up for a safe flying adventure. You can follow Chris at Angle of Attack on Instagram, YouTube, on his website, and if he doesn't do enough, he has also launched a brand new mobile device app. You can get flight training in your pocket with the Angle of Attack app, an FAA-aligned ground school that sticks, including private and instrument courses, smart quizzes, skills training, and check ride ready study guides. Plus, enroll in Total Student Pilot for newcomers and an in-app community for fast answers. Commercial and CFI are coming soon with new content added regularly to the app. Search Angle of Attack on your app store, available now for both Android and Apple.
Alrighty. So, we got 3 anonymous stories lined up for you guys, like usual, but one of them came straight from Chris Palmer. Which one is it going to be?
Which one? You'll have to listen to the end to find out. So here we go. Let's start with story number 1. Listen closely, because at the end of the episode, we're going to reveal which one that Chris Palmer is fessing up to. All right. I was a recently minted private pilot, and my instructor and I have developed a good relationship. He and I enjoyed flying, faith, and firearms. So one day we were flying together off the clock, and he wanted to show me his everyday carry pew-pew. I'm sure you guys know what that is. As anyone who has any experience with firearms knows, when handling a pew-pew, you want to ensure you handle it appropriately. As such, he begins to clear the gun. Now, I'm no firearms expert. I know that clearing a gun usually includes dropping the mag, racking the slide multiple times to eject anything in the chamber, and visually inspect the chamber to ensure everything is clear. I was never taught to do what I saw my CFI do next. After he went through the above steps, he then proceeded to pull the trigger. I would later recollect that instead of dropping the magazine first and then racking the slide, he racked the slide first, chambering around, and then dropped the mag. And then he pulled the trigger, not realizing there was one in the pipe. Fortunately, we were in the corner of the airport, so no one was around, or so we thought. And extra fortunately, the gun was facing a safe direction. But in that moment, I couldn't believe my eyes and my ears. My CFI had discharged his gun into the floor of my recently purchased Cessna 172.
No.
As I mentioned, we were in the corner of the ramp and thought no one was around. Within a minute, a husband and wife who were pre-flighting walked over and asked us, "Did you guys hear something?" We sheepishly shrugged our shoulders and we said we had no idea where the noise came from and blamed it on the airport setting off stuff to scare away the birds, and then they left us alone. In case you were wondering about the damage, upon taking off, we discovered that there was, in fact, a hole on the bottom of the aircraft, just underneath the rudder pedals. So as we were flying, we could see the ground from the right-hand seat through a hole approximately the size of 9 millimeters.
Oh, man, there's a lot of lessons there. But to make a little funny comment, at least now there's an extra air vent in the Skyhawk.
Do you know that from experience?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's no AC in these 172s.
There can be.
Okay. Flight school planes. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, easy, Tiger. I know that we live in Vegas summer, and the 172s you fly do not have AC.
No.
It's possible, but most buyers of new Skyhawks don't want to give up the useful load or pay for all the extra cost to put it in.
So this is a great, I think, question about firearms or personal protection in your personal airplane. I see a lot of people online that do sort of adventures like that, and I have to assume that they're,
Mm-hmm.
bringing their firearms with them.
Right.
And I wonder how they manage that. You know, the obvious answer to me is how you would travel with that on a commercial airplane, right?
Right. Yeah. Have it unloaded in a box and inaccessible to you during flight. I think that's the general rule of thumb. And then, of course, you're flying, which usually means you're going to other states, right? So you got to make sure that you're able to carry a gun in that state that you're going to, because maybe you hold a weapons license for your home state, but maybe not for where you're going. So that gets a little tricky too.
Have you ever had a customer that had their gun not in a case when you were flying with them?
No.
Because that's a good question. Let's say you're PIC of the flight and one of your friends comes up with his concealed carry, which is perfectly fine in most states. You as PIC, what should you do in that scenario?
Well, you would want to do exactly what you just said, right? You'd want them to, if it's important for it to go with them and you're okay with that as PIC, assuming it's your plane. If you work at a charter or something, then you're going to have their own rules.
Sure.
But if it's your plane and you're like, yeah, you can bring it, I would definitely suggest to go through those proper stages of clearing it, putting it in a box. Normally you keep all the bullets in a separate box, and it's inaccessible during flight. And you want to do that, of course, because you don't want it to go off in flight like this happened. Because what if they were in a pressurized plane?
Oh, my goodness. That's what I was just about to ask next. What if? Man, that's crazy. I'm trying to think of any scenario where I would ever pull the trigger on one of my firearms with the mag in at all.
No, the mag was out.
So the mag was out, but he chambered first.
Correct.
Ugh.
Instead of taking the mag out first, where all the bullets would then be out of the gun, he chambered one on accident and then took it out.
Okay,
and then
so he did have the mag out. Okay.
Yeah. No, he thought
I could see where the confusion is a little bit there.
Yeah.
Because I would never pull the trigger on a quote-unquote empty mag with the mag in it.
Right. Yeah, of course. And then the funniest part of this is the ending to me is that they thought that the bullet was lodged just into the floorboard of the plane. They didn't know there was an exit hole. So they were like, it's just funny because they're at the airport. They accidentally shot off a gun that went into the plane. Like they knew that. And then they were like, let's go fly.
But great thinking on their feet, though.
And then they went and flew and then realized that, sure enough, there's actually a hole.
There's a hole. I love the bird excuse, though, because that is true. They shoot all those like bird shots to scare away coyotes and birds. So if you ever wanted to test a gun, I guess go to your local little podunk airport and shoot it off.
Wow. No, that's not advice from us, even in the slightest. It's all recanted via me. Next story, Kevin. You can't joke like that here.
I'm sorry. I thought this was a fun podcast. All right, let's get on to the next one. Here's the title. The Overnight Stranding. It started as one of those dream flights, the kind that's supposed to be part training, part adventure. My student and I fueled up at a small outlying airport, then headed towards a remote backcountry strip where we planned to camp for the night. The evening was magical. We cruised over a landscape of towering peaks and endless wilderness bathed in golden light, snapping photos and soaking it all in. At one point, my student was so overcome by the beauty that he literally clapped and laughed out loud in the cockpit. We landed, set up our camp right next to the airplane, and sat around a small fire under the fading sunset. Everything about the night felt perfect. The trouble came the next morning. During pre-flight, I dipped the tanks and my stomach sank. We had far less fuel than expected. The gauges showed maybe 5 to 10 gallons left. Our original destination would have required about 15 gallons to get there with the safe reserves. Flying that leg would mean gambling with fuel exhaustion, and that's not a gamble you win more than once. Going north wasn't much better. Airports were scarce, and the few nearby had no guaranteed fuel. With no clear option, we stayed put and started problem solving. The aircraft could run on automotive fuel, so I set my student to try hitchhiking to a nearby gas station. An hour passed with no luck. I started combing through the airport information on my phone and spotted a small airstrip only a few minutes flight away. No official fuel service, but there was a number listed. I called. Sure enough, a local pilot kept a small supply for emergencies. I decided to go alone to keep the load light. The short hop took me over rugged terrain to a rough little strip, part gravel, part uneven turf, where the old-timer met me with a gravity-fed tank and a friendly handshake. We swapped a few stories. I paid him cash for the splash of fuel, and within minutes I was airborne again. 2 minutes later, I was back at camp. We loaded up, now confident in our fuel reserves, and headed towards civilization without further trouble. Looking back, this wasn't just a close call. It was a self-inflicted wound. Poor fuel management had put us in a spot where the wrong decision could have meant running a tank dry over unforgiving terrain. Fuel exhaustion isn't the kind of mistake you walk away from easily. That day, I was lucky. It was a humbling reminder that no view, no matter how breathtaking, is worth losing sight of the basics.
I feel like this story could be written by almost any pilot. I think that almost every aviator runs into this where it's not, this story isn't some catastrophic thing, right? This had a good ending and really great problem solving skills. But that moment when you're pre-flighting and you're out somewhere or something during the flight where your stomach just sinks and you're like, oh no, like this isn't what I planned. That feeling just sucks.
It does. It does. I'm really happy with the outcome, but we teach this from day one that fuel is our lifeline. It's everything that is about being a safe pilot. Every single accident, I shouldn't say every single, most accidents revolve around something related to fuel. And we are the sole purpose of that. You know, this pilot recognizes the mistake. They recognize the error and put that responsibility on themselves, which is the most important thing I see reading this story, right?
Well, here's the other thing. Let's talk about when we flew our plane from Florida to Nevada.
Okay.
That was one of the longest trips we've done in our plane. We've flown it to Oshkosh and a bunch of other states in the past. But, of course, we had get there itis. We were moving to a new state. My lease on our new house had already started. Like, we've already got a place we're paying for out there. And we're just so excited to go start our new chapter. But how many extra stops did me and you take because we are so conservative on fuel?
So I would say when we first started the flight plan process, there was maybe 6 to 8 fuel stops. When we ended in Nevada, we probably took 12 fuel stops.
You think we had 12 stops?
Probably pretty close.
Yeah, actually, maybe so.
Yeah, probably because of what you just said. We do not risk it. You know, flying across the country has a lot of challenges in itself with single engine piston, not including weather. Eliminate weather.
Right.
When we go, we typically pull up Garmin Pilot and look for the cheapest fuel service, right? That might not be the best option always.
Yeah.
You know, so what I learned from this is like, let's find an airport that has, you know, reasonable fuel and services, like a hotel, maybe a McDonald's somewhere. And that goes into our fuel planning now. You know, the FAA says, 30 minutes of daytime minimum reserves?
Not for me.
That's nothing. 30 minutes in Mojo, that's like 6.5 gallons of gas in the tank. That's no.
That feels so dry. Yeah, the minimums that the FAA set feels really low for me. Perhaps if I was like doing a local flight, like with a friend or just by myself or a test flight, or I'm just in the pattern, maybe I'd be more comfortable landing with 30 minutes of reserve. But when I'm going cross country, like truly across country, for example, what we were just talking about, this move, like you're going into like unfamiliar airspaces, unfamiliar terrain, unfamiliar ATC practices where the locals might know, yeah, every time you come in here, if it's IFR, you're going to get this huge 30-minute reroute around this huge Bravo. But if you are not from that town, and maybe they do things different in your area of the country, and you don't expect those type of delays, and you're so screwed.
Sure. Another real world example. I have a friend who told me this story. They didn't actually submit this, but they were doing a cross country and had their fuel stop planned and checked NOTAMs, everything landed. And guess what? The fuel pump was broke. And the next closest airport was more than 30 minutes away. So if they did every single thing right, if they checked NOTAMs, flight plan appropriately, had 30 minutes of gas. Now what? And that really happened. So like real world examples, we like to just, get on there real quick and say, check NOTAMs, sure. But what if it just broke?
Yeah, it could have broke and they're not even aware yet. But also a lot of airports just aren't great about putting the NOTAM out.
Yeah, we flew into a lot of small, uncontrolled fields on this flight out here. And if there's an airport manager there, you would never see him.
Right. So NOTAMs can't be the only source. If you, for some reason, are like extending your leg to that point of almost fuel exhaustion where you're like, yep, I need to land at this airport. And yep, I checked. They have fuel. Everything looks great online. You need to call and you need to have someone verify. And still, even then, that would make me uncomfortable because, like you said, what if it breaks on your way there? Then you're stranded.
We could talk about this forever. Just like you said, the Nevada trip. I remember when we were doing our next leg, we would always have two stops.
Yep.
One was the furthest one and one was the closer one.
Yep.
We always planned on going to the closer one. Once we got there, we reevaluated our fuel situation every single time, no matter what.
That's a great tip. We did that, especially when we got to a part of the trip where the weather started getting a little weird. We were dealing with some IFR and marginal weather along the way. And so we came up with this little trick on our own that was, what's the perfect scenario airport that we're going to go to? So we do our flight planning, and that's where we could get to with our proper planning and everything. And then we would pick an airport shy of that. That gave us a little bit more fuel in case we had to divert around weather or anything like that. And we would call that airport our point of no return almost, because as we got further west, the airports were much more scarce. And it wasn't like there's an airport just every 5 minutes away. So once we got over that airport of no return, we looked and just verified all weather. Everything looked really great and was like, okay, are we heading onto our perfect spot, or are we going to land here and get some extra fuel just in case because the weather's still looking pretty hairy? And multiple times we stopped at that point of no return instead of going to the ideal destination.
Absolutely. Well, I think that fuel-related topics we could take up an entire podcast talking about. But I really like that story. I'm really happy that it ended in a great outcome and really, really good problem solving by just calling some guy who happened to have some extra gas.
Yeah, call around. Next story. This one makes me laugh. A fellow pilot friend told me a story recently. The pilot friend works for a popular airline. She got a trip assigned with a captain who was known as Super Odd. Her being the adventurous person that she is, she decided to keep the trip with Captain Odd. Pre-flight, taxi, and takeoff were all very normal. He introduced himself like normal, etc. When they got up to altitude, he out of nowhere asked how she felt about lizards. She said, oh yeah, like little geckos, they're fun. He corrected her immediately, telling her that geckos were not lizards. Then he asked her two very direct questions, asking if she liked outer space and if she was into politics. She sidestepped to avoid the political conversation, but she said she did enjoy stargazing. He then asked if she knew about the lizard people on Mars. At this point, she could barely keep a straight face as she laughed and sarcastically said, of course I have. She was kidding. Captain Odd was not kidding. He then asked her if she was a round earther. At this point, she couldn't help but ask more questions. For the next few hours on this transcon flight, she learned exactly why no one wanted to fly with Captain Odd. In summary, he thinks lizard people live on Mars and the moon, that the Earth is flat, and that lizard people are living on Earth and will one day take over. Moral of the story, don't ever fly with Captain Odd again, and thankfully he's 64, about to retire soon. His retirement plan is to, quote, research the lizard people.
Captain Odd sounds awesome. Captain Odd would be the best person to fly with one time and one time only.
Just one time. I need to hear about the lizard people.
I want to hear about the lizard people because I'm really, really into the little abnormality people found on different cities, right? You know what I'm talking about?
I do. You're talking about... Oh, give me a second. My brain is not working today. You're talking about squally people. Squallies.
Okay, this is not a joke, people. There are squally people, squally kids in the Florida Everglades. Look it up right now.
This is like a Bigfoot. What are those called? Stories?
Yeah.
Whatever. This is like
a fable.
A fable.
Ah, we got there.
This is the fable of like the Naples, Florida's kids. And
It's
this is
not
where
a fable.
Kevin grew up in Naples, Florida, and I grew up in Orlando. So the first time he took me home to Naples, he informed me about the squally kids and how I needed to watch my back. So briefly tell them what the squally kids is.
I'm not making this up. Look it up. So squally kids are apparently albino inbred midgets.
You just looked at me so serious while you said that.
Because it's not a joke. I didn't make this up. And you know what me and my friends did our entire childhood? I mean, you know, but for you guys listening, we went out to the Everglades every single weekend to find them. And we did. You know the evidence we have?
What?
There was one day, me and my buddies were walking in the Everglades, and we got pelted.
Was it at night or during the day?
It was probably at night.
How do you not know your own story?
It was like dusk. Let's set the scene.
Okay.
We were walking, and we got pelted in the chest with acorns. No one has acorns out in the Everglades. And who's throwing them at us? We're in the middle of nowhere. We go out there all the time. We knew that land. There was nobody out there except the squally kids. And they were throwing acorns at us because they knew we were onto them.
Okay.
We were coming for them.
Okay. Also, be careful. If you search squally kids, don't do that around your kids because the photos that come up are terrifying.
Yeah, they are really, really scary looking.
So, since you believe in squally kids, do you believe in lizard people on the moon and that they're going to come take over Earth?
I don't think they're going to come take over Earth, but why not at least have Captain Odd have that opinion? Because people like Captain Odd exist.
Why doesn't Captain Odd just call them aliens? He must be talking about an entirely different species.
Lizards.
Okay.
You're right. It's talking about lizards.
You know what's scarier than all this to me is that I'm picturing you flying with Captain Odd and you just like bringing him down the rabbit hole.
Okay, let's set the record straight. There's no doubt that I will dangle the carrot on the lizard people.
You would play with this the whole flight.
But Kevin is not a flat earther.
Well, okay, that's another big takeaway from this, that the captain at this major airline is a flat earther.
It's not the first time I've seen an aviation professional as an outspoken flat earther, though.
Who's that?
I had somebody, not going to name the facility, that I worked at as a controller who was a outspoken flat earther.
Oh, no. Like, in, like, Facebook groups?
Everything. The whole thing.
How?
I don't know how. I mean, we looked at a flat radar scope, so I guess he thought that that's just what it looked like, maybe.
Okay, so how is this captain a flat earther?
That's probably a better question.
Wait, no. You know what's really funny is the way they told this story is that he posed that round earthers are the weird ones. And he asked if she was a round earther.
A roundy? A rounder?
A round earther. Because that's funny, saying that that's the smaller group. That's really funny.
I love that. I really, really hope I get to fly with someone like that.
So after I saw this story, just coincidentally, I was texting with one of my friends / clients because he says, I see your podcast came out. Good luck, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, it's time for you to submit a story. And he says, I've been lucky. The craziest thing I've seen is one of my captains eating beef stew straight from the can while it was still gelatinous. And then he goes, he's also known for keeping his McDonald's in the hydraulic compartment and always offers the top bread of his Egg McMuffin to the FOs. But with me, he said he was eating healthy. So he had a frozen Jimmy Dean turkey sausage McMuffin that day, but still offered me the top. I said, ew, David, which is a Schitt's Creek reference. And he goes, do you know him? And I was like, no, wait, is his name actually David? He said yes.
Oh my gosh, Mindy. First of all, Schitt's Creek reference is gold. That is gold. But also, I hope I'm lucky enough to fly with these people. Because if I get offered the top bun of an Egg McMuffin that's been in the hydraulic chamber, I'll lose my mind. You're not going to hear it. Yeah, I'm going to eat it.
You're going to eat it?
I'll eat it. I'll eat because I'm a team player, Mindy.
No.
I'm a team player.
It's like an offering. Like, here,
take it. The lizard people send it down and put it in my hydraulic fluid.
So ridiculous. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of types of people you can fly with, and the funny thing is when they're your captain, you just kind of have to take it. You can't challenge it. You got to be like, yep, there's lizard people.
You better eat that thing.
Yep, I want the top of the Egg McMuffin. Yep, the earth is flat. Yep.
Wow. This podcast is going off the rails. What are we talking about? Squally people, lizard people, Egg McMuffins, and the hydraulic fluid? We appreciate you guys submitting these stories, so it keeps me entertained. It makes me think, am I crazy? Like, am I doing something like that? Do I need to share?
You will be. I always picture you in your future airline career, and God bless the people that are going to have to fly with you.
God bless them. It will be memorable.
Yeah, because I know you're going to take a piece of all these stories, and you're going to morph into this mega Captain Odd.
I can't lie. I hope that no one who's hiring me in the future is listening to this, but if you are, I'm just going to be a great person to sit next to. That's all.
You'll have entertaining flights.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys made it to the end of the episode. We shared our 3 anonymous stories. So now it's time to find out which story Mr. Chris Palmer from Angle of Attack is fessing up to.
Mr. Chris Palmer is the one who didn't have enough fuel out in the mountains of Alaska with his students.
The camping story. If you know Chris Palmer, I think these were all good stories. Honestly, it could have been any one of them. But I think just the way that he writes kind of gives it away about the breathtaking mountains and how beautiful and serene and being in the backcountry. And then how he very, logistically went through all the different plans of action on how to solve his problem.
Yeah, that's how
Chris.
I knew it was Chris. It's like he took this example as a learning opportunity, like everything. He wanted you guys to hear this story. He put himself out there to be vulnerable. So, let's give him credit for that.
Yeah.
But he took this story as something we can all take away. We're human. He planned appropriately, but then something wasn't right. And he didn't make a rash decision. Thought through the process.
Took his time.
Got lucky, too. Let's not forget that guy out there having fuel, that's awesome. But this is a Chris Palmer story, tried and true.
Yes. So, again, go follow our friend Chris. He is awesome. And that brings us to the end of our episode, our very first special edition episode with a guest feature. And now a little word from Chris.
Hey everyone, Chris Palmer here. I want to thank Kevin and Mindy for allowing me to be on the Captain John Doe podcast show this time. And I was happy to submit some of my stories and play that little game with you guys where you got to pick which one was mine. Of course, that was a really actually kind of good incident that we had where we had this beautiful flight past Denali, which is the largest mountain in North America, and just a beautiful flight at sunset. Had a great time camping, and then that whole kerfuffle with having to go and get fuel right down the road. Just make sure you always try to find it out, always return home safe. That's the most important thing to do. And I hope you guys learn from these stories because that's what we're trying to do at the end of the day. At least that's why I'm sharing some of my stories. I will definitely have more to share with you in the future, and I just want to thank Kevin and Mindy for having such a wonderful idea with this new podcast. I think it's going to be extremely popular, and I'm very excited and honored to be a part of it here at the very beginning. So thank you, Mindy. Thank you, Kevin, and best of luck in the future, and really, really hope that we can continue to work together and collaborate together. So much fun. So thanks, guys. Appreciate everything. Make sure to fly safe, and I will talk to you guys soon.
Thanks for flying with Captain John Doe. If you have a story to share, visit CaptainJohnDoe.com and stay anonymous. New episodes every Wednesday. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tell your favorite crew members.